Where do we see oil drop sign? Oil drop sign is classically seen in case of psoriasis. So what is oil drop sign? As the name says, it looks as such oil has dropped on the nail. There is a brown macule on the nail plate, and it is the air which is trapped beneath the nail plate which gives the appearance as such, which is basically called the oil drop sign, is what you need to basically remember. And what are the other features of psoriasis? Onycholysis, thickening of nail plates, subungual hyperkeratosis, and thimble pitting. So many times this question was asked. Thimble, coarse pitting of nails, where is it seen? What is your answer, Doctor? Psoriasis. And since it is most commonly asked question, topic, if nothing strikes to your mind and if psoriasis is in the options, your answer chance of being correct is very high. So be very sure. So this is called thimble pitting of the nails with onycholysis is what you need to remember. And onycholysis, where there is a breakage of the nail and separation of it from the nail bed, is a very classical feature. This is another example, detachment of the nail plate from the nail bed, which is basically called onycholysis, is what I want to underscore. Then other important characteristic feature in psoriasis is hyperkeratosis, subungual hyperkeratosis. So this is how the nails will look like when there is a hyperkeratosis subungually, is another important feature. Now, once more, 2013 DNB question was, coarsening of the nails, where do we see? What is your answer, Doctor? In case of psoriasis, we see the coarsening of the nails. Now, which is not a pre-malignant condition out of all these things. Psoriasis is not pre-malignant. But actinic keratitis, Bobbin's disease, xeroderma pigmentosum, Bloom syndrome, so they are all a set of conditions which are called the pre-malignant conditions, is what need to be remembered. If you take actinic keratosis, this is an example of a actinic keratosis, which is a pre-malignant eyelid lesion, and at any point of time can convert into a squamous cell carcinoma, is what you need to remember. Now, what are all the conditions which are called pre-malignant, Doctor? Actinic keratosis, Paget's disease, and xeroderma pigmentosum, radiation keratitis, Bobbin's disease, leukoplakias, and melanocytic nevi, which are dysplastic. They are all the examples of the conditions which are called pre-malignant, is what I want to underscore to all of you. Now, one of the most common site for psoriasis was the DNB 2009 question. It is typically the extensor surfaces. Extensor aspect of knees, elbows, scalp are the classical locations for the development of the psoriasis, is what I want to underscore to all of you. So what do you mean by extensor? You have flexor and an extensor surface. So this is an example on the top of the elbows, which is basically called extensor surface, is the classical location where you find the psoriatic lesions. One more example of extensor surface developing those shiny lesions of the scales of psoriasis is what you can classically see here. Now you have a plaque. If you happen to remove the plaque, there are bleeding spots underneath that plaque. Where do you classically see this kind of finding? This is called as Auspitz sign in case of psoriasis, is what you should reflexly answer. See, this is a scale, Doctor. Once you have removed the scale, there is a bleeding point underneath it. Are you able to see that bleeding point? Which is classically called Auspitz sign. And there is a very peculiar thing about the scales. Problem solved? Yeah. There is a peculiar thing about psoriasis. whenever you are grating the scale of psoriasis, those scales will fall down just like a candle wax. So this is also called the candle wax sign, which is also seen in the case of the psoriasis, where the grating, whenever you do for the scales, it will fall down like as such you are scratching from a candle wax, is a very important finding. Then there is an important sign called in psoriasis the sign of last Hodgkin. What is the meaning of sign of last Hodgkin? Whenever you are removing the scales of psoriasis, layer after layer you will be removing them until the last level of that layer is reached. The scales remain dry, which is typically called the sign of the last Hodgkin, which is once more seen in case of psoriasis. So summarize, doctor. You have a Auspitz sign, you have got a candle sign, and there is a sign of last Hodgkin. Now one important question, why Auspitz sign? If you pluck out the block or a scale, why there is a bleeding point underneath is a very important question. Actually there are blood vessels into dermal papillae, and those dermal papillae blood vessels will bleed if you happen to pluck out the scale. There is a reason there is a small bleeding point underneath the scale. So it is a rupture of the blood vessels in the dermal papillae responsible for the Auspitz sign is what you have to classically remember. So this is an example of a candle sign. Whenever you are scraping it, you get a feel that you are scraping the wax. Then this is the sign of the last Hodgkin, where until the last layer it remains dry, and after you pluck it out, typically there is a bleeding point which is called Auspitz sign, is the important signs you need to remove. This is another example. The patches basically resemble candle wax and are bleeding after you do the curettage, which is seen in the case of the psoriasis. Now I am going to tell you the hottest MCQ in DNB. Cobness phenomena, not only DNB. You go to JIPMER, AIIMS, All India, any entrance exam. Favorite question. There is an epidemic 2003, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11. Regularly the computer will be throwing from its question bank one Koebner. So what are the causes of Koebner? If it is a simple all of the above, it is like will you marry my elder daughter, second daughter, third daughter, or all of them on a Dasara offer. But nowadays examiners are not innocent in asking all of the above questions once upon a time, right? So what is Koebner's phenomena? If you subject to a little trauma, in the point of trauma there is once more upspring of new lesions, which is called as the Koebner's phenomena. So you must someday remember in your 100 pages notebook what are all the causes of the Koebner without fail, and go to exam and reproduce it. So getting MD seat has nothing to do with intelligence. It's a question of donkeyship. You must be ready to have loads and loads of info on the brain, tuck it here and there, and then go and vomit there. And if you can do that perfectly without spilling on anybody else, you are the best guy. So what do you need to tuck? Lichen planus, psoriasis, warts, Kaposi, molluscum contagiosum, vitiligo, DLE. These are all the conditions where you find Koebner phenomena early morning as you wake up. No, 6 causes of Koebner, and then wash your mouth. So that is what you need to do until entrance exam. What is true about Monro's microabscess? So basically, if you do the histopathology, you will find a collection of WBCs, and that is basically called the Monro's microabscess. It is not an abscess like a pus what you see. It is a histopathological finding, is the Monro's microabscess. So it is seen in stratum corneum. Which layer is a favorite question? Stratum corneum, and maybe sometimes a pustule can be there. It is seen in psoriasis. And what does the debris basically contain? It contains the WBCs. And what are the other features that you see in case of psoriasis, doctor? Acanthosis, hyperkeratosis. I will come to each of them. What is the meaning of each of those words? Then in the stratum corneum you will find pustules, which are basically called Monro's microabscess. And what do those Monro's microabscess contain? They don't contain eosinophil. They contain neutrophils that form the aggregates in those Monro's microabscesses in the parakeratotic stratum corneum. Is the classical lesion in case of psoriasis, is what you need to basically remember. So once more, where do you find Monro's abscess? We find it in the case of psoriasis. The pigmentation is there, the pigment of the skin is there. Dilution of that pigment, which is called as pigment dilution. What are the conditions where you find such a pigment dilution leading to a hypomelanotic state, leading to lightening of the skin, white colored skin? Where will you find? You don't find it in psoriasis. You find it in homocystinuria, phenylketonuria, Menkes kinky hair syndrome, which is due to copper. In all these entities we find the pigment dilution, which is also called the leucism, wherein there is a lighter coat of skin, is the important finding. Once more, what is the donkey work about this question? There is a list of conditions where the skin become whiter. Tomorrow as a clinician, for what will patient worry, doctor? If there is a CIN1 cervical lesion, patient doesn't bother much if he is not very educated. What the skin looks like is the main botheration of the life of the human being. So that is the reason some of you want to be dermatologists. Yeah, many of you should be loving the subject, because final treatment is giving steroid or no steroid. 3-4 things only will be there. But you need to talk a lot to the patient. A postpartum female comes to you, says that my hair is falling down. I was like Aishwarya Rai before marriage. So why did I have this childbirth? And why this stress of life? So you must become a psychiatric dermatologist. Dermatological psychiatrist. So many things you need to do. So oculocutaneous albinism, Chediak Higashi, pybaldism, Waardenburg syndrome, tuberous sclerosis, ataxia telangiectasia, there are all the conditions where a hypomelanosis and pigment dilution states is what you need to remember. Now let us review some clinical pictures. Oculocutaneous albinism. The eyes are lighter, the skin is lighter. Waardenburg syndrome, you have a white forelock with a light colored eyes. It's called Waardenburg syndrome, where you have hypomelanosis, is what you need to remember. Now, DNB is a picture based exam. So you can be given Waardenburg as a spotter. So you must be quite sure, based on this white forelock of the hair, you must be able to clinch the diagnosis. So where do you see Auspitz sign, doctor? Classically in the case of psoriasis. And what is meant by Grattage test in case of psoriasis? If you do the gentle scraping of the surface of a psoriatic cloth using a glass slide, then those loosely attached scales of the psoriasis, they reveal a shiny surface which is peppered with fine bleeding spots that shiny surface is called Berkeley's membrane. Berkeley is a cigarette packet. Cigarette packet, you have a shiny overlying leaf, right? So Berkeley's membrane, Grattate sign, where do you find in case of psoriasis is what you need to ultimately remember. What is von Jumbusk disease? So in the middle of preparation, you must also know how to read Sanskrit mantras. Huh? So von Jumbusk disease, where do you see? The big malady is first time for entrance we will read, first time in our life, and that will be the last time in our life also to read that condition. After entrance you don't need von Jumbusk. You need diabetes to live, you need hypertension patients to live. You are not going to live with von Jumbusk. But anyway, pustular psoriasis is called as von Jumbusk is what you need to basically remember. So as a variant of psoriasis, sometimes there is a development of diffuse pus-laid lesions. Pustular variety of psoriasis is called von Jumbusk. So there is a generalized eruption which contains the pus, and patient will have fever and it is painful, and after some period of time the pustules will resolve, and then there is an extensive scaling which will develop. So that is the reason every psoriatic case, don't expect him to come with a presentation with scales. It need not be a scaling presentation every time. It can be in the form of a von Jumbusk. Initially is what you have to basically remember. Then there are some other varieties of clinical presentation of the psoriasis, especially pustular psoriasis. One is called von Jumbusk. Then you have exanthematic type. Enanthem means a rash inside, exanthem means a rash outside. So they can present with a generalized exanthematous pustules, multiple pustules, that is called as exanthematic type. Then you have a variety called pustulosis of the palms and soles, can be one presenting feature. Pustulosis, only palms and soles will show the pustules, and typically it is associated with this kind of presentation, pustulosis of the palms and soles, is associated with the Sappho syndrome. So examiner will ask you, what are the components of the Sappho syndrome? Sappho includes synovitis, acne, psoriasis, hyperostosis and osteitis, along with the palmoplantar pustulosis in psoriasis. So pustulosis of palms and soles can be an associated feature of the Sappho syndrome is what you need to remember. Then one more way by which pustular psoriasis can present is called as acrodermatitis continua of Halpieu is what you need to remember, where it is the distal part of the fingers and sometimes the face which typically will show the presence of pustules. So based on the location of the pustules, when it is generalized pustular, you call Jumbusk. They can be palmoplantar, etc., etc. So but main point of nature here is which condition will be associated with Sappho syndrome is what they are going to ask in the tomorrow's exam by chance, rarely, right? If the examiner loses himself in the forest of dermatology, he may pick up the wrong herbs for you to taste. So then you may end up in such a question. So this is a classical example of acrodermatitis continua of Halpieu. Distal ends of the fingers will show pustules is what you need to remember. Then this is pustulosis of the palms and soles is the second variety of psoriasis, and that is the story of pustular psoriasis. So what is your answer, doctor? Streptococcal throat infection It is the guttate psoriasis, as what you can see, multiple lesions of psoriasis after an episode of the streptococcal sore throat. But how is the prognosis in this scenario of guttate psoriasis? Prognosis is excellent in children. You can expect spontaneous remission, which will occur over a period of weeks to months, is what I want to underscore to all of you. Now, doctor, using Sorolin along with ultraviolet is a very common combination called PUVA therapy. So, you know PUVA therapy, you know Ingram regime, Gokarben regime, you read a lot. Finally, examiner will say, do you know what is the wavelength of ultraviolet light, which is used clinically? If you don't know that number, you are out of the game. So what is your answer, doctor? 280 nanometers is the wavelength of the UVB light, is what you need to basically remember. I am very happy to see around 23 plus online viewers, Surya Prabha, Ramya, Bharat, Josna, etc., etc. And I think day before yesterday you have Dr. Khalil. He is like Shahenshah Akbar of microbiology. Last week you had Dr. Kulkarni. He is like a flowing encyclopedia of pathology. So doctor, finally some of you, when you join post-graduation, every day make a habit of teaching some point. If you are a gynecologist, you be the first person to teach someone how to do a colposcopy to an undergraduate medical student. That undergraduate medical student will remember you lifelong. Maybe that undergraduate student will become a cardiologist tomorrow. But he will say, that day you are the one. We had one senior called Suhasini. She was the one who first time gave me opportunity while I was in 4th year to assist a hysterectomy. There was nobody available for her. Oh, please wash your hands and come. Oh, that's an excitation. Excitation is not only in doing hysterectomy but assisting such a beautiful man. So both the ends were met at that point of time. So I can never forget, hysterectomy means first I will remember the Adi Guru who gave me chance first time to do. Then he said, no man, you should not incline too, bend too forward. That will lead to back pain and you can't be a surgeon. So yeah, anyway, I never liked to be a surgeon. I wanted to be a physician only. So, but the point is, when you make teaching a process as a postgraduate every day, learning become interesting. Huh? So, doctor, UVA is 250 to 280, UVB is 280 to 320, and UVC is 320 to 400. Is what you have to basically remember. Now the question comes, shall we answer 280 or 320 or 300? Don't worry, examiner will not give such borderline watershed zone values. He will definitely give, yeah, 280 was there, no, that's what I am just now thinking. But 400 anyway doesn't match, that goes into UVC, so 280 is a borderline between UVA. Actually 300 is a better figure. Now, Koebner phenomena, once more. Where is it not seen? Typically, it is not seen in scabies, but in psoriasis, like in planus. Here comes an interesting question. There is a Koebner hythos, pseudo-Koebner also will be there. So, where do you find pseudo-Koebner? Warts and molluscum contagiosum are the two conditions where there is a pseudo-Koebner. How will you remember? A cat looks like tiger, but is cat is a tiger? No, it is a pseudo tiger. What will cat say? Meow, it will say. M is molluscum contagiosum, W is, meow means MEW, no. Don't tell, Murli Bharadwaj teach like this. So he will also make some cat sounds, dog sounds in the class. Yeah, meow. M is molluscum contagiosum, W is what? So he will say it is a cat but not tiger. So it is a pseudo Koebner, not a real Koebner, is what you need to remember. So now doctor, true Koebner, where do you find? Psoriasis very commonly, lichen planus, lichen nitidus, vitiligo, lichen sclerosis, Kaposi, necrobiosis, lipoidica, etc., etc. So now let us go through a small run on the dermatological signs in DNB CET. Auspich sign, already we discussed, psoriasis. Buce lines. So where do you find this Buce lines, doctor? In case of malnourishment. So very good. Palpable, horizontal, deep grooves and ridges of the nails are called as Buce. So trauma, malnutrition, Kawasaki, diabetes, psoriasis. Oh, once more, there is a big potpourri of causes. Then there is a white line which is extending across the nail and does not move when the nail grows. What is that called as? It's called as Muriki line. Yeah, I mean Murki's line, doctor. Murki's line it is called as. So where do you find Murki's line? Chemotherapy, nephrotic syndrome are the classical causes of Murki's lines. Then this kind of picture is called axillary freckling. This is axilla, be very sure. I know that reading in the reading room you lost the basic senses of limbic system also. So we are talking about the axilla, axillary freckles. So where do we find them? Neurofibromatosis. Along with the axillary freckling, I am not talking about them, they are neurofibromas, but this freckling which you are seeing is axillary freckling. Then doctor, capillate spots are like that chocolate colored, brown colored thing. So capillate spots is typically once more a feature of neurofibromatosis is what need to be remembered. Rifaz is saying the notes is not uploaded. Please ask him to upload it into the Edmodo. Uploaded? I think Rifaz can now download from the Edmodo. Yeah, Lischke nodules. Where do you see? Classically in the iris, these nodular structures are there. No, they are seen in neurofibromatosis type 1. Then buttonhole sign. The lesion looks like a button through the buttonhole. Through buttonhole invagination is a feature which you see in neurofibromatosis type 1. The lesions look like a buttonhole, a button coming out of buttonhole. Then doctor, this kind of holes on the side of the eyes are called Denny Morgan's holes. Where do you find those who are having allergic dermatitis, allergic diathesis? They get asthma, they get hypersensitivity, they get scratch, they start sneezing. If you are powdering your face, they get sneezes, your roommate. Look at his eyes, there will be small folds, they are called Dennis Morgan, is what you need to remember. This is another example, are you able to see? Those who have allergic diathesis, they show Denny Morgan folds is what you need to basically remember. So atopic dermatitis, you find Denny Morgan. Now, what is meant by Darrier sign? If you happen to strike the lesion, means apply pressure on the lesion, it typically causes intense erythema and wheal formation, as what you can see here, which is then called Darrier sign, which is seen in Urticaria pigmentosa classically. Already you know Koebner phenomena, psoriasis, lichen planus, vitiligo, pityriasis, rubra pilaris. Then nail pitting, where do you see? In case of psoriasis. Then what is this reticular network like arrangement lesion called Wickham striae? Which location we are showing you? Buccal mucosa, right? So it is basically called the left buccal mucosa. It's called as lichen planus by Wickham's striae. One of my maternal auntie has got a lichen planus. Every time I go, even if it is a big party also, hey, please see in my mouth and tell me whether it has become big or not. Why did your father made you to become a doctor? Only to take care of my, she is 68, this thing, and a very proactive person, but she reads Google, and her son is a director of Barclay Bank in London, and she says, no, you are here to see my, this thing, but yeah, she prepares a very nice coffee. So to have a coffee of her, I go to her home, but the punishment is, I need to look into her mouth and tell last time, this time did it grow big or less, and reassure her for 5 to 10 minutes, don't die, you don't die because of the oral cancer, but you are going to die because of some other cancer. So you have to tell her. So now, big ham stria is lichen planus. Then what is this called as, doctor? Pterygium. So where do you see pterygium? Pterygium of the nail is a feature of lichen planus. Once more is what you need to remember. And what are the other things in lichen planus you see? Cicatricial alopecia, scarring alopecia, corneal phenomena, and buccal mucosal involvement because of big ham stria. Then what is this lesion called as on the trunk, doctor, which is typically a lesion, one single lesion will come, following that multiple lesions will come. So this lesion is going to herald the onset of a bigger eruption. That's the reason this is called as herald patch, which is seen in the case of the pityriasis rosea, is what you need to basically remember. And how are the lesions of pityriasis rosea are distributed? Just like a Christmas tree. Are you able to appreciate? Christmas tree will be like this, no? Christmas tree. So Christmas tree pattern is what you see, the typical lesions along the lines of Langer, skin lines of Langer, you find the lesions in case of pityriasis rosea is what you need to remember. So this is so looking at it, are you getting that Christmas tree appearance? Unless you are too imaginative or a true Christian at heart, so be very sure to look at Christmas tree over here. This is another example of a typical pattern of the lesions going in a Christmas tree pattern is what you have to remember. Then what is the typical description of the lesions of pityriasis, of lichen planus? 4 P's. They are polygonal in shape, they are papules, they are pleuritic, they are purple colored, polygonal, pleuritic, papules is lichen planus is what you have to ultimately remember. Then once more in pityriasis rosea, if you look at any lesion, typically the border of the lesion looks like a cigarette paper wrap's border. Cigarette paper wrap, you have no wrapper on the cigarettes. So that kind, that's called collarette scale. So where do you find collarette scale? Pityriasis rosea. Then what type of itching sensation? If you ask the patient of pityriasis rosea, he will say, as such pins are pricking. Itching has various varieties. Be very sure, like red wine, white wine, wine varieties. You have pin pricking type, burning type, sunburn type. Anyway, you are all going to, some of you are going to do dermatology, MD. So pin prick itching, it is a history. Then sun fungus, once more is a name given for pityriasis versicolor, not rosea. Rosea is different from alba, is different from versicolor. We will take each of them. Then what is done by Nikolsky's sign? Classically, if you apply any lateral pressure, the skin upper layer will peel off from the underlying layers. So that is basically called a positive Nikolsky's sign. So where do you find in conditions like toxic epidermal necrolysis, pemphigus vulgaris, wherever there is an acantholysis, where the breakage of adhesion of one cell to the other cell is gone in the layers underneath the epidermis, then if you apply the lateral pressure, then that will peel off. What is that called? Nikolsky sign is what you need to basically remember. Then whenever you look at histopathology in case of the pitary, in case of pemphigus vulgaris, all that acantholytic cells, they leave the papillary structures which look like the tombstones. As you can see, the tombstones, like that kind of appearance it will leave, that suprabasal acantholysis, which is a classical feature. Tombstone appearance in case of pemphigus vulgaris is what you need to remember. This is another example. There is an acantholysis which is happening where the cells lost the adhesion to one another and they are leaving empty spaces. Are you able to see? Which is called acantholysis, and there is a lot of perivascular lymphocytic infiltration, which you can, all the dots of blue dots are all lymphocytic infiltration is the classical feature in case of the pemphigus vulgaris is what you need to remember. This is another example of the mucosal lesions in the mouth. So what is the difference between bullous pemphigoid and pemphigus vulgaris? Knowing that there are two different entities is the first important difference at MBBS level. Mucosal involvement is a feature of pemphigus vulgaris. Mucosal involvement is not seen in bullous pemphigoid. How will you remember? Hey, don't talk vulgar, people say. So you talk vulgar. Talking done with mouth. So where is mouth involved? In vulgaris. So buccal mucosal involvement is vulgaris. So pemphigus versus pemphigoid. Intraepidermal blisters and buccal mucosal involvement is pemphigus. Pemphigoid is subepidermal, not intraepidermal. And mucosa is not involved is what I want to underscore. And how will you remember in actual exam how that pemphigus vulgaris is intraepidermal but not subepidermal? You are not histopathologist. After all, what exposure you have? But for even I too have not presented a case of pemphigus. I have seen one case of pemphigus vulgaris as a general medicine guy. Yeah. If I myself have seen one case, unless all 15 days you attended dermatology, we will have a lot of cases of pemphigus vulgaris, there is no doubt, but as a house surgeon it is difficult to really see so many. But okay, that's the reason, no other way than to remember. So how will you remember it is intraepidermal? Pemphigus vulgaris is involving what? Mouth. Common term what we use? Inside the mouth. What is there inside the mouth? There is a poem in childhood rhyme. What is it? Johnny, Johnny, yes papa, eating sugar, no papa. What is in your mouth? Pemphigus vulgaris papa. So it is intraepidermal. Inside is what you can remember. It is not subepidermal. Is what you need to remember. So this is an example of pemphigus vulgaris, an intraepidermal blister and the row of tombstone appearance is what you classically see in case of pemphigus vulgaris. Then if you do direct immunofluorescence in case of the papillovesicular lesions like pemphigus vulgaris, what do you find? Lace-like lace. Lace means you know the, not L-A-Y-S, lace, potato lace, lace, right? Lace means what? Chain, Oh, okay, ankle lace and all that. Bracelet, something like that, okay. Lace-like intercellular space deposition of immunoglobulin G is what you find in case of pemphigus vulgaris. Now, how many types of pemphigus are seen, doctor? Once more, इसमें varieties है. Pemphigus vulgaris means if the pathology is at suprabasal acantholysis. Pemphigus vegetans, even that is also suprabasal. Pemphigus foliaceus, if the acantholysis is involving at subcorneal level. Once more, what are the layers of the epidermis? We will discuss that point in the next topic. So, subcorneal is Pemphigus foliaceus. Then Pemphigus erythromatosus is also another variant which is basically subcorneal. So, the various types of Pemphigus based on where is the acantholysis happening is what I want to underscore to all of you. Then you have seen lace-like pattern of deposition in case of Pemphigus vulgaris. Then how about bullous pemphigoid? Linear deposition of the immunoglobulin G on the basement membrane zone, BMZ, is a classical feature in case of the bullous pemphigoid is what you have to basically remember, and it is basically subepidermal is what you are gonna remember. So summarize, doctor, Pemphigus vulgaris versus bullous pemphigoid, what are the differences? Where do you find subepidermal? Bullous pemphigoid. And intraepidermal? Pemphigus. Pemphigoid is tense blisters, whereas flaccid blisters are Pemphigus vulgaris. How will you remember? What goes into mouth, can it still remain tense? Bubble gum. Bubble gum will be bubbling when it is outside the mouth, not inside the mouth. In inside mouth, it becomes flaccid, crushed in the mouth. So, Pemphigus vulgaris is mouth lesions and they are flaccid. If they are flaccid, bullous pemphigoid must be tense is what you need to remember. Then, middle-aged or young adults, Pemphigus. But the typical age group is elderly people. One more way to remember is, if you are having an internal malignancy, one of the paraneoplastic clinical presentation can be in the form of bullous pemphigoid. Who will get internal malignancy? Elderly. So elderly will have the pemphigoid is what you have to basically remember. So where do you see Berkeley membrane was a favorite question of the examiner, 99, 2004 and 6, right? The shiny membrane is typically seen in case of psoriasis. So एक मर्तबे पूरे 8,000 MCQs एक राउंड मारे तो कोई भी रुकेगा नहीं. क्यों? Any new question comes also, you know how to eliminate and guess, because already you have run through the 8,000 questions once, right? But the whole challenge is, every time we feel that we will read a lot of dermatology and then sit and do the questions. That will never happen, doctor. That can never happen. Why some people get delayed in marriage? Because they want a perfect girl or a perfect man in the life. Perfect man girl kahan milega, doctor? If a boy has got wonderful eyes, he will have short toes. Some problem will be there, or webbed fingers. Who has seen? After shadi you will discover he has got webbed fingers. But still with that web, in that web, you have to live. So there is no other choice now. So there's a reason. Don't aim, I'll become perfect finishing of theory of dermatology and then I will read. No. First know what questions are asked in a fun way, and then if you are totally going out of the game, you can go and read the book. Psoriasis. Then in psoriasis there is a very interesting thing called Von Roth's rings. What is the meaning of Von Roth ring? If you take any scale of psoriasis, around that there is one small pale ring. Are you able to see, doctor? Can you see? The pale ring around. So that surrounding hypopigmented pale ring around the psoriatic lesion is basically called Von Roth's rings, is what you have to basically remember. So this is another example of a gutted psoriasis patient where you can see, as such you get a feeling that is the blood flow is decreased around the lesion, is a kind of feeling you get. looking at that pelor. That's called von Roth's ring is what you have to basically remember. Then where do we give photochemotherapy? A combination, classically in case of psoriasis. So what is the chemo part of it? You will give a psoralen along with ultraviolet light. So UVA, ultraviolet A is one which you will give. And what type of psoralens are available in the market which you can basically give? If you are giving oral and topical, then PUVA and 8-MOP, methoxysoralen is used mainly. Who want to have tea, please raise the hand and then take the tea. One tea is without break, another tea we will have with a break. Yeah, please. So, we use 4,5,8 trimethyl-psoralen and similarly 5-methoxysoralen. I leave the literature for you, differences between soralens. They really don't ask. Only for our internal satisfaction we need to read so many types of psoralens, etc., etc. To know that psoralen is given in psoriasis itself is highest level of academic mania, with a single-minded obsession that we want to get MD seated. Right, without seeing a psoriasis patient also. We are reading all this, that is a anomalous scenario. Now Dr. Nikolsky sign. What are the conditions where you see? Epidermolysis bullosa, toxic epidermal necrolysis, but not in psoriasis. It is also seen in pemphigus vulgaris is what you need to remember. So this the peeled out skin in case of Nikolsky sign positivity is what need to be remembered. Now comes a question, what is the donkey work about Nikolsky? 5-6 conditions where Nikolsky is seen. Wherever acantholysis is there, there is a separation. So pemphigus vulgaris, foliaceous, staphylococcal scalded scale syndrome, toxic epidermal necrolysis, herpes simplex, zoster, leukemia, epidermolysis bullosa are the all entities where you find the presence of Nikolsky's positivity. What are the scenarios where you find onycholysis? What is your guess? Shoot an answer. Possibly? Allergic dermatitis also it is seen. That's where to make a reasonable guess is what we should pray God. But also pray that the reasonable guess turns out to be right answer. So doctor, you find it in nephrotic syndrome, you don't find it, you will find it in psoriasis, allergic dermatitis, even in antineoplastic therapy. So this is a typical onycholysis in the distal and with a lateral separation of the nail from the nail bed is what you can classically see in this onycholytic state is what you need to remember. So that is the story called psoriasis.